What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to episode 79 of the Silver and Gold podcast. I'm Josh,
And I'm Mike.
and it has been a while, guys. I'm not going to lie. This probably is our biggest, hiatus since our last stream, or biggest gap between, the last time that we were live. We're still here. We're still Niners and Raider fans. Unfortunately for Mike, he's a Raider fan. Uh, but yeah, we've just been enjoying a little bit of time off. There hasn't been too much to talk about this off season. But we do want to provide a quick little recap. We'll start with the 49ers today. Um, and we will go with um, the what didn't happen for the Niners. I know I said it hasn't been very eventful, but I mean, Fred Warner literally got extended after we did our most recent podcast, and we were waiting to see if there was going to be like more stuff to talk about besides that. But yeah, Fred Warner signed his deal, kind of unsurprising because he's so pivotal to the team. It was a 3-year deal that will keep Warner on the team through 2029. Uh, I forget if we brought it up the last time, but the 49ers signed Greg Joseph. We will talk about him when we get into the training camp battles. Um, the 49ers have signed punter Thomas Morstead and are moving on from Mitch Wishnowsky. And then they also brought in linebacker Chaz Surratt. And then also the 49ers traded for defensive end Bryce Huff from the Philadelphia Eagles. Um, Mike, do you have any thoughts on Bryce Huff? Just coming from the Eagles, not to put you on the spot.
Um, that's not the guy that was like the Super Bowl hero, right? I think that was the guy that the Cardinals got in free agency.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
I
I
don't think
don't
that
have
Bryce Huff
very,
played much towards the end.
yeah, I don't have much of a opinion on Bryce Huff, unfortunately. He is an interesting name though. I know that. Like, I think he was like he had some hype to him as a prospect from what I remember. Like, I remember the name, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I couldn't put a face to the name. I couldn't put a body type or a play style to the name. But it was a need for the Niners, that's for sure.
Yeah. So he passed his physical, and then I saw some stuff from OTAs, like some clips of him and Bosa like exploding off the ball, doing their drills, and I mean he looks really quick. So I wouldn't be shocked if he's on the field for like obvious passing downs and whatnot. But aside from that, another thing that happened was Diamador Lenore got arrested. But I mean that's a long story, and you know I mean, actually, it's not that long of a story. I don't know why I said it's a long story. But, he was just withholding keys from a police officer, I guess, to, like, defend his friend. And, it doesn't sound like it's really going to be much, or that really much is going to come from that. And, yeah, aside from that, I think that's pretty much everything. Oh, except for Alfred Collins just got not extended, sorry. He just got signed today. I'm a little bit rusty, guys. Bear with me. He finally signed his contract, and I don't know. I just find it really bizarre that like most of the NFL teams' second round picks are not signed. Like even the Raiders' second round pick, Mike, is it Jack Besh?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not even signed yet. And what is it? The Texans' second round pick, Jaden Higgins, and who else is signed?
I think it's just Higgins and Alfred Collins right now.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Other.
mean, I was going to bring up Jack Besh in a little bit, and we can get back on that topic.
Mhm. Other than that, one of our big topics, as you can see in the thumbnail, we have Jawan Jennings' contract situation. So Jawan Jennings has made it pretty public that he wants either a new contract or that he wants to be traded. And currently, he's due for a $7.5 million payday in 2025. But it appears as though he wants more than that. Mike, I'm gonna ask you first, and then I'll give my thoughts. Do you think that Jawan Jennings should be traded, or do you think that he should be paid?
You would have to remind me of the Niners wide receiver core because, you know, I'm also a little rusty and I personally have been taking a complete football hiatus ever since a couple dynasty fantasy drafts, a couple months ago.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously with Ayuk still kind of in this injured phase of, or how would you say it? Coming back from his injury,
Yeah.
but very much like I'm pretty sure it's already like assumed he's going to be on the pup to start the year. Um, so what? He's gonna be out like the first 4 weeks minimum or something like that.
Yeah,
Um,
so that's what's most likely, but I think Matt Mayoko said he wouldn't be shocked if Ayuk is ready for week one, but that's just it's an opinion. It's not like a
fact.
doctor saying, that he's going to be
Yeah.
ready.
Um, and then really, I could be forgetting somebody, but the only other name I'm thinking of like merit on your wide receiver core would be first rounder from last year,
Ricky Pearsall.
Ricky Pearsall.
Yeah.
Which did I say he switched to number one from
He did.
14?
He did.
Yeah.
So, really quickly,
Am
let
I
me just
forgetting
recap
anybody?
the let me recap the receivers right now. So,
Yeah.
you've got Brandon Ayuk, who's obviously, coming back from a nasty knee injury. So it's going to be, I think, it's kind of up in the air on whether or not he's going to be, ready to go like in the middle of the season, maybe towards the beginning of the season. We still don't know. They have Ricky Pearsall. Um, Jennings is up in the air right now. Jacob Cowing, he was a later round draft pick from last year.
Yeah.
Isaiah Hodgins, Russell Gage, um, Malik Knowles, Isaiah Nayor, Tariq Owens, and Demarcus Robinson and Jordan Watkins. Yeah.
Okay, so the question at hand is should they trade him or sign him?
Yeah.
Here's my question. When was the last time that he got signed? Was it a free agent deal or not free agent deal, but was it like oh, just before free agency we locked him up on a nice deal or was it like yeah, we gave him a fourth round tender and he couldn't really say no?
I think they tried to go the tender route, but he ended up getting like a bigger deal than that last year. Like they
Mm,
just recently, you know, did this last
signed
year.
him.
Let me pull up his contract on Spot Rack.
Yeah, that's why I asked because that's what I remembered was like a year ago, if not this off season, they put a tender on him and then like you said ended up giving him a better deal, which is nice. Um
Okay.
and if that was before last season, I understand why he's asking for it. Obviously, if this was this off season, this is ridiculous. Like you just signed the deal. It was last off season, a year ago.
Yeah, so Jawan Jennings signed a 2-year, $15.39 million total value contract with the San Francisco 49ers that replaced a previously offered $4.89 million restricted tender. The new deal comes with 8.435 fully yeah, 8.435 million fully guaranteed at signing, 7.89 million in cash in 2024 and a 5.6 million option bonus due in April of 2025.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't blame him for wanting a new deal. Um, in large part, I think because of opportunity cost. So like he got that tender, and it's like, ugh, this deal sucks. And then they come back to him with, hey, we'll give you this 2-year deal for 15 million, blah blah blah. That sounds great. Well, then Brandon Ayuk gets hurt, and he was kind of the number one receiver, not named George Kittle, right?
Yeah,
So
honestly,
that's
he was
why he's asking for more.
he was like the number one receiver even when Ayuk was on the field.
No, no, Ayuk or Kittle?
Jennings.
Ayuk? No, no,
Jennings
no.
was like the number one receiver.
Oh, I was saying, Juwan Jennings was the number one receiver besides Kittle. But I see what you're saying. If you're saying even when Ayuk was on the field, it felt like Jennings was the number one. Yeah, that's even more reason for him to be asking for a new deal. And I think
Yeah.
that's where, if I were him, I'd be feeling like, yep, the Niners kind of got me, didn't they? They suckered me in with that 2 year deal because it was way better than that 1 year deal. But if he had just stuck it out on that 1 year deal, he would have got paid somewhere, if not with the Niners this past offseason. You know?
Hmm.
So I think, to answer the question at hand, if I'm the Niners, if I don't have Juwan Jennings, I'm desperate. I'm in desperate need of a wide receiver. If this turns into a training camp, uh, sitting out of training camp,
A
it's an
holdout.
issue. We need him on the field. A holdout, yeah. So I would sign him to or not an extension. I would just give him a raise. I would add on some money to the deal. Maybe add some incentives. I don't know,
Hmm.
but I wouldn't trade him.
Yeah. I'm kind of 50-50 on this because on the one hand, I think like he is one of our best passing threats right now. He's not very fast, but he has the ability to separate and just, 2 years ago he was almost the Super Bowl MVP. So he's a
Hmm.
playmaker, right? He's not like the most explosive athlete on the field, but he blocks very well. He's got great size. Um, and he's just a playmaker. I was kind of, when I initially heard the news, I'm like, man, the 49ers wanted to go, younger. And this was supposed to be a reset year. And then now we're back in square one of having another contract, situation. But here's what I'll say. If Jennings only wants a little bit more money than he's already getting, like, let's just say he wants 13 million or let's just say 15 million and the 49ers can get a deal done for 12 million, right? Then I'm willing to do that deal. But if it's going to be like 15 million, I almost feel like they should invest that money into like the defensive line or you know
Well, okay. Here's the
in
question. You're
or in the
saying,
offensive
so
line.
are you saying just for 1 year, just for this year, just to give him
Short-term
I
deal.
might have missed it. Sorry.
Short-term extension.
Short
I
term.
want
So,
I
okay,
want a
extension,
short
like
term
another year.
extension where he gets a pay raise of like, you know, he's currently at 7.5 million due for this upcoming year. I would feel comfortable getting him at like, let's just say 12 million, but
I want to
I
see
don't know
something.
I don't know what exactly he's asking for. I think that's
Right.
really key. If he wants to be closer to 20 million, I think that's a little too rich for Jennings. And the 49ers I think have they don't have a lot of proven receivers, but they do have a lot of young talent because I've heard nothing but good things about Jordan Watkins at practice. And then also, the 49ers have Demarcus Robinson on the roster, which makes me think, hey, if they want a vet that can step in, I think they can go with him. Um, I just don't know if they need to be investing so much money at the wide receiver position if they're a run first team and are going to run McCaffrey into the ground and Garendo into the ground and then Jordan James into they're just going to primarily use the running backs. And I don't know. I lean towards paying Jennings at the right price. That's what I'll say.
Yeah. I the first name that I thought of that got signed this offseason was Khalil Shakir from the Bills.
Mm-hmm.
He got a 4 year deal worth $60 million. Now, I agree with you. If I'm signing Jennings, I'm going short term.
Yeah.
Um,
He's 28.
I think, yeah, I think a 1 year extension with a pay raise on this year's, salary makes a lot of sense. So like, Khalil Shakir came out to 15 million per year.
Okay.
I think Khalil Shakir is a good, you know,
Comp.
uh, yeah, comp for him as far as the effect on the team and the capability to be the number one, but not exactly the expectation to.
Mm-hmm.
I think you would basically double his salary, which when you consider that they signed him at $7 million per year a year ago when the cap was a little lower, just barely. Um, and I don't think they expected what they got out of him. You know,
Hmm.
I think they were expecting less and they got so much more out of him at that rate that doubling his contract essentially, from 7 million to 14, 15, whatever,
Yeah.
not so bad. But just keep it short term. And you also, I mean, you just signed Brock Purdy to a big extension earlier this year. You got to keep the consistency there. You got to keep his weapons. So I think he's earned a pay raise. And I think, I mean, Juwan Jennings, he's a guy that will do the dirty work.
Yeah.
I think he's a guy that likes to block, right?
Yeah. And he goes over the middle.
Yeah. So I mean,
He's
I
clutch.
don't think
He
that's a
is a clutch
guy.
player.
Yeah. I mean, in the Super Bowl, like you said, he's a guy you don't want to, let go of. He's not a guy that you want to just lose. Like, I mean, he has 1 year left on the deal. That is a level of um bargaining power. What the hell? Leverage. He has a bit of leverage because he only has 1 year left. So it's like, hey, well, I could just play out this year and then I'm gonna leave. You know.
Yeah.
So I think in reality, chances are the Niners want to get something done too. If I had to imagine, but I'm not the Niners.
Yeah. Um, you know, in the same breath, when I say that I would like him extended for the right price and years, I also think like if I was going to trade him, I would also want the right, you know,
And
compensation in return.
that's
Uh,
another part of my point. I don't think you would get as much as you would want in a trade for him.
yeah.
You know?
So one thing though, I feel like his value might be the highest that it'll ever be. If they
Yeah.
were to trade him, like I'm not advocating to trade him, but I don't know what the what the contract discussions are like behind closed doors. I don't know how far they are. I don't know essentially what he's asking for and what the 49ers plans are. But one thing I do know is the 49ers have almost 100 million in dead cap this year. So I don't think that they're going all in to win the Super Bowl this year, you
Hmm.
know? So if you're not going in, all in this year, does it make sense to, extend an aging vet when you have so many young receivers on the roster? Like, you know, should you be trying to keep a veteran? I don't know. They told us how much they wanted to get cheaper and younger this offseason. And then they changed their mind about like they started to do it and then they like changed their mind halfway through. Like they got rid of Debo. That was fine. That was a good move. And then they ended up getting rid of Juszczyk and then they brought him back, which was weird. But
Right.
I don't know. I do lean towards keeping Jennings because I do really like him as a player. But if they were to trade him, here are my reasons for why they could move on from him. And here are the receivers. I'm just going to name them again. They have Pearsall, Cowing, Watkins, Isaiah Nayor, according to George Kittle, looks really good. Tariq Owens and Luther Bergen or Bergen. Um, I think he's going to be more of a punt return kind of guy, but we'll have to see in training camp. Um, but also they have Brandon Ayuk coming back at some point, and he's already expensive. The original mission of the offseason, I already mentioned, get younger, less expensive, um, and I already mentioned his value might be the highest it's ever been. I'm going to go over his stats right now from this past season. He had a career high 77 catches on 113 targets. His his previous career high was in 2022 with 35 receptions for on 56 targets. He more than doubled his yardage. He almost got 1,000 yards and should have if he didn't get tossed in the final game this past season. And he had 6 touchdowns, which was also his career high. Um, I think Jennings was really good this past year, so I think there would be teams that are interested in trading for him. Maybe not giving premium draft position away. I don't think that he would, you know, I don't think that he would draw in that kind of return. But like, you know, there might be a team who's interested in adding a weapon like him. Like I could honestly see the Chargers as being a team who might be interested in Juwan Jennings just because of the way that he plays. Like the way that Juwan Jennings plays kind of reminds me of the way that Anquan Bolden would play back in the day. And the 49ers had Anquan Bolden, and Jim Harbaugh was the coach at that time. Jim Harbaugh is now the coach of the Chargers. Also, the Chargers are a wide receiver needy team who is currently experiencing a second round holdout from their receiver. You know, I'm saying second round holdout because all the second round picks, besides Alfred Collins, the GOAT, besides him and the Texans guy. But I don't know. I feel like there could be a match to get something in return if the 49ers really aren't going to be all in this year. But I don't know. I think Purdy's going to need some weapons. You got to protect him by having him, you know, have guys that can get open. And Jennings, he's a big target, gets a lot of separation. So maybe they should just pay up because I think maybe he probably does deserve it. Or he definitely does deserve it. It's just a matter of the 49ers, does that align with their long-term goals?
Mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, indeed. I just can't help but think, as far as Juwan Jennings goes, coming off of making a huge franchise-altering investment in Brock Purdy, I personally wouldn't mess around with his receivers. I would secure, you know, having receivers in the building rather than not, you know. Um, and I agree with your point that if they were to trade him, you would probably get max value for him in the sense of what I could see happening. And I could also see it happening where he plays really good again this year. And it's like, wow, maybe we didn't realize how great Juwan Jennings really is like a, you know, top 60 wide receiver in the league. And that doesn't sound that good, but, you know, I mean, 32 teams, you know, top two receiver per team, right? Like maybe top 40 receiver in the league. Actually, a fantasy football, you know, weapon, whatever you want to call it. Um, but I can see it where it works out for him, and he ends out, you know, earning that payday, and maybe goes to another team and, you know, plays solid. But I see most likely your point of his value is probably at its peak right now, because when you look at the history of his career, it's not much until this past season, really. And
Yep.
then, you know, little spurts of big moments.
Yeah.
So I understand the idea of trading him and getting something really good for him. The problem for me is I don't think many teams would value him like that. Um, I think coming off, you know, free agency and the draft, I think most teams feel pretty good about their receiver room. I think you would need an injury for a team to become desperate for something. But you also still have guys like Keenan Allen and Amari Cooper out in free agency.
Yeah.
Like, why would I trade assets? You know?
That's a great point. That would be another reason why if you can get like a good little trade package while Jennings's value is still high, why not take the draft pick for later on, even if it's not as high as, you'd like, and then just take that money that you saved and sign a guy like Keenan Allen.
Yeah, I mean, if you can pull it off, like, I think because guys like Keenan Allen and Amari Cooper are out there, you're gonna get less in a trade. So like, you'd be settling for like a sixth round pick,
Yeah.
maybe even a comp pick, you know, or not comp pick. Is it comp pick? I don't know, a late sixth
Yeah.
round pick, basically. You'd probably be
Compensatory.
settling for something like that. But if you get a sixth round pick plus Keenan Allen, that does feel really good for a team with Brock Purdy. And, you know, I mean, Keenan Allen is a great veteran to have when he's healthy.
I want him
Uh,
now. I want him
yeah,
even if you don't trade
I mean,
Jennings.
you could absolutely fit an Amari Cooper or a Keenan Allen on this roster right now, 100%. They have
Yeah.
the room for it.
Yeah.
So,
So that's kind of where I'm at. And then also too, another reason why I'm on the fence and I'm not like so hardcore like, yeah, we got to pay Jennings is how many times do I have to fucking see this. Where, oh my god, he played really good last year. How could you not pay him? And then we fucking pay him, and they're never the same. They're never the
Mm.
same. With like looking at the receiver position specifically, we literally saw it like almost back to back to back. Debo, it was like, oh my god, 2021. Debo was incredible, whereas all the years prior to that, it was up and down. He had a solid rookie year, had a bad second year. His third year, 2021, was like, oh my god, we can't go on without Debo. We have to pay Debo top of the market money. So we pay him top of the market money, and Debo was never the fucking same. And then Brandon Ayuk this past year, oh my god, what a mess that was. Because I was even advocating for them to pay Ayuk because I think he was that good of a receiver. He just got injured, so that sucked ass. But even before he got injured, it wasn't he wasn't the same player. He didn't have a training camp, so that definitely affected him. But I don't know, man. It's just like it's almost like repeating the same mistake. But at least in this case, I don't think Jennings is asking for top of the line money. If he is, I'm sorry. Thank you for your service. Have fun on the Panthers.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
like Jennings is gonna ask for anywhere between 15 to $20 million. I'd have to assume. Maybe he's even asking for less. But really, I want to hear what the chat has to think because I don't want to just keep talking in circles over here. I see Neutral 69 in the chat. Nice name. Says red and gold. Absolutely. Yeah, we can kind of do without the silver, but we call it silver and gold because sometimes we unfortunately talk about the Raiders on this channel. Anthony tuning in with a bunch of Raider flags says, "What up, boys? Anthony, what's up? Welcome back. It's been a while." Anthony says, "Juwan Jennings looks like a Jacoby Myers in my opinion. Good wide receiver, but not Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson. He's a number 2. Jennings might be better. Jennings might be the number 1 this year. He's trying to cash in and take advantage of the situation. The 49ers are stuck in with Ayuk hurt. He's not worth it. I like Jennings and have him on my dynasty team, but he ain't CeeDee Lamb. He's not Amon-Ra St. Brown." What I will say to that specifically, Anthony, is I don't think he's asking to be paid like those receivers. So there's at least that. And then Anthony also says 49ers are better off not paying him. You'd only get a 5th round pick for Jennings. Which, I mean, the 49ers track record with those 5th round picks, though, I mean, Jennings was a 7th round pick. And I know he's not a 7th round pick anymore. He's Juwan Jennings now, but I mean, still. Anthony thinks that you just make him play on his current deal. Yeah, I mean, it would be interesting if Jennings even has the money accrued in his career to be able to sit out for a year, and not have the paychecks come in. I think that would be the interesting part of the negotiation as well. But I'm ready to move on. I'm kind of for
Absolutely.
just find a way to bump up his pay, make him happy, but don't go overboard. Don't sign him to a massive extension. Let's talk about other players on the team besides Juwan Jennings. We can finally talk about 2025 training camp battles for the 49ers. So the 49ers are going to have, I think their training camp begins, I want to say on the 22nd, but double check. Don't take my word for it. It's coming up really, really soon. I know the Chargers are already at training camp and the other team that they're going to play in the Hall of Fame game later in this month. But I want to talk about some positions and position groups specifically that we should be taking a little bit of a closer look at because, I mean, there's some spots that are going to be solidified, but there's other spots on this team where it's kind of up in the air on what's going to, who's going to be the starter, who's going to be the backup, So I'm just going to go ahead and dive right in. At left guard, now that Aaron Banks is gone, does Ben Barch just fill in? Does Spencer Burford have a shot? What about Connor Colby? Is he any good? I think Connor Colby is going to be a good player to keep an eye on because he's a late round, draft pick that the 49ers had who's more of an interior guard. Um, Obviously, they have need at left guard now that Banks is gone, but he may not be an immediate starter or really immediately inside the lineup. But we've seen in the past where the 49ers will take a guard late in the draft, and in a few years, they'll make it into the starting lineup eventually. Like, if you look at Colton McKivitz now, he was drafted late as a guard, and he's the starting tackle. So I think maybe Connor Colby might be uh, a player that can develop at very least, and this might be like the first year of that, or maybe he pushes Ben Barch for a starting job. I don't know, something we have to keep an eye on. There's also the swing tackle position, which obviously swing tackle is not a set position that plays every snap on the field. It's a backup tackle that can play either left tackle or right tackle. For those of you who don't already know that, Trent Williams, as great as he is, tends to miss time, and so I want to know who can step in and be the backup if he goes down, or if God forbid anything happens to Colton McKivitz. Uh, Obviously it would be much worse if Trent Williams went down. But I'm hearing that Spencer Burford could be the swing tackle. So I don't know. I've kind of heard that as like a floated idea rather than like, oh yeah, he's gonna be like. I don't have sources telling me. I'm just like, I've heard these ideas and I'm like, oh, you know what? Why not Spencer Burford? Other than like maybe size and just the fact that he was a guard. Um, I'm also this training camp looking really closely at wide receiver because I'm very interested to see who is going to step in for Ayuk while he's injured, but also who's going to replace Debo, in the long term. Like, I'm pretty sure they're going to phase out most of the Debo offense, which they've slowly been doing ever since they got McCaffrey. But with Jennings holding out and Ayuk temporarily sidelined, who is going to step up? I'm confident that Jordan Watkins and Jacob Cowing are going to make the roster, but who's going to be in that starting lineup? Could it be Pearsall, Cowing, and Watkins week one? I don't know. Yeah, another thing to that is Demarcus Robinson's availability. I think he's going to be facing a suspension, like a small little suspension. When does that occur? Is Demarcus Robinson going to be, a player like Jawan Jennings who is, pretty clutch and makes plays here and there, or is Demarcus Robinson going to be, a Chris Conley kind of player, an old vet, or is he going to be like Willie Snead, like just never make an impact? That's something that I'm going to be interested in finding out. But I've heard nothing but good things about Jordan Watkins. Obviously, I think Pearsall is trending to be one of the starters. Whether he's I mean, he probably wouldn't be the slot guy if they're able to get Jennings. That the Jennings situation kind of shored up. But yeah, will Jacob Cowing take a bigger leap in year two? That'll be another thing to keep an eye on. The next position I'm going to be looking at is third string quarterback. So I'm confident that Brock Purdy is going to be the backup to Mac Jones, and Kyle Shanahan is going to finally live out his fever dream. I'm being sarcastic. I'm confident Mac Jones is going to be the quarterback too. And really, the third string quarterback is going to be between the rookie Rourke and Tanner Mordecai. I'm wondering who between those two will make the roster and who will be on the practice squad. I'm also looking at I'm looking at the running backs, but really third string running back in particular. First things first, I'm looking at McCaffrey's health. I want to know if he's going to be ready to play this year, or if the Achilles tendonitis just is never going to be an issue that goes away. So, as of right now, I've got CMC locked in RB1, Garendo RB2. I've heard Garendo looks even better this year than he did last year, from like the OTAs and, minicamp and whatnot. Just from the reports that I hear. Like I have to say it again because the way I'm wording it is as if I have sources in my ear telling me. But yeah, I want to know who's the RB3 and RB4. My guess would be that rookie running back Jordan James would be the running back 3, and Patrick Taylor Jr. would be the running back 4. But knowing Kyle Shanahan, I think that Patrick Taylor Jr. is probably going to be flipped with Jordan James, and because Kyle always just trusts the veterans. How long did it take for him to trust Jordan Mason? And Jordan Mason was hella good. Like every single time Jordan Mason would get the ball, it was like 6 yards per carry. So yeah, that's the way that I see those two, on the depth chart shaping out. Um, and I think the 49ers will probably keep one more running back after that. And it's just a matter of whether or not Israel Abanaconda or Corey Kiner are going to be the ones that, that stay on the roster. Because they're both going to be fighting to keep a spot on this team. And honestly, I feel like if a guy like Corey Kiner shows that he can be explosive and trustworthy, I could see him jumping Patrick Taylor Jr. in the depth chart. I could see that.
Mm.
Because Patrick Taylor Jr., he's solid, but I wouldn't say he's like super explosive or anything. And then moving over to the defensive, side of the football. Oh, before I move over to the defensive side of the football, Mike, is there anything on the Niners offense that you are going to be taking a look at in particular?
In large part because of my football hiatus, not really, but because of all the conversation we've had, I would say wide receiver really interests me on your team because, like I mentioned, you re-sign Purdy to the big deal. You have Ayuk coming off an injury. You have Juwan Jennings now with this contract dispute, we'll call it. And you have an up and coming Ricky Pearsall. Um, Jacob Cowing was a guy that I really liked coming out of the draft a year ago. So I could see where he could, climb the ranks. Or do you potentially sign a guy like Keenan Allen? Because at least you and I have talked about the fact that on paper the Niners have the easiest schedule in the league this year. So like, even though it feels like they're not really going all in this year, who's to say that they don't still win 10 plus games, make the playoffs? Like that's all it takes is to get a place in the playoffs, and then, you know, are you getting better at the right time? Are you getting hotter at the right time, which would be in December, January?
January. Yeah.
So, yeah. So I mean, just because it feels like they're not really going all in doesn't mean that they shouldn't, or that they won't be in the picture anyways. So I think again, after paying Purdy, I would be doing what I can to make him look as great as possible,
Yeah.
and that would be keeping and acquiring wide receivers, as well as obviously protecting him, which is very important. So, you bringing up the guard position, like that's big.
Yeah. No, 100%. That's probably the most important position battle, or at least like vacancy that, I can think of. Besides, obviously, on defense, they're going to have to, replace Dre Greenlaw. So that'll be something huge in its own. Pia in the chat says Wednesday the 23rd is when training camp, I guess, officially starts up. So thanks, babe, for clarifying. So now I can jump over to the defensive line, and just kind of the defense as a whole. I want to know what the plan is for Mykel Williams, the first round pick this year. My initial thoughts were that he would start opposite of Nick Bosa, but then they traded for Bryce Huff. Do they move Mykel Williams inside on obvious passing downs and keep him outside, as the starting defensive end? My assumption is that the starting unit is going to be Bosa, Collins, CJ West, and Williams, with like Bryce Huff rotated in when it is an obvious passing down. But I wouldn't be shocked if they take it slow with or at least like a couple of the rookies. You know, the rookies being Collins, C.J. West, and Williams. Right? We've seen it time and time again. But I kind of feel like Robert Saleh utilizes young talent a little bit better than Shanahan does. So that's why I'm a little bit more optimistic that we're going to be seeing contributions from guys like Collins, West, Williams, Upton Stout, Nick Martin. Speaking of those guys, well, actually, not yet. Another battle is who's going to be on the second unit for the defensive line. Like, what's the second unit going to look like? There's going to be Kevin Givens, Jordan Elliott, Kalia Davis, Evan Anderson. They're all going to be fighting to be in the rotation. And then obviously Yetur Gross-Matos is going to be one of the backup defensive ends, assuming he makes the roster, which I don't think they have the depth to really get rid of him. I think Robert Beal Jr. is also still on the team too, so it'll be interesting to see those two, I guess, battle for playing time. And then linebacker, it's obviously, it's obvious that Fred Warner is going to be playing the Mike linebacker, but who plays the Will and the Sam? Is it going to be Nick Martin and D Winters on the other sides of Fred Warner? Who plays what spot? I think would be, my, I guess, initial question. I think that D Winters might be a good player to step in for Dre Greenlaw. I'm pretty sure that Dre Greenlaw was the weak side backer because he was able to cover the field a lot quicker and be a very. He was just a high intensity, high motor guy, big thumper. Yeah, I would think that D Winters gets the Will and Nick Martin gets the Sam. But let me quickly take a look at the roster again to see who could be other guys that might step in for linebacker. There's also Curtis Robinson, and then another player that I mentioned at the top of this pod was Chaz Surratt. So, forgot three guys: Luke Gifford, Stone Blanton, and Tatum Bethune. I'm interested in seeing Tatum Bethune this offseason because I thought he was like a sneaky good 7th round pick last year, but he never really got an opportunity to play. We'll see if he developed, improved this offseason. We'll see if he gets any playing time, or at least an opportunity to compete in training camp. Going back to other positions of the defense, I think that corner is going to be interesting because, it's a given that the starting corners are going to be Diamador Lenore and Renardo Green. But I want to know who either plays nickel or comes in to play, comes in on the outside when Lenore moves over to nickel. I'm assuming it will be Upton Stout, but could Darrell Luter Jr. or any of the other cornerbacks, push for that spot? That's what I'm looking for, and I think that's something important to keep an eye on. And then finally for the defense, we're going to look at safety, or at least I'm going to be looking at safety, and everybody should, because it was looking like it was going to be Jair Brown and Malik Mustafa, but I think, we have to monitor what's going on with Mustafa's knee injury and if he's going to be ready for the start of the season or, ready for at any point in training camp. Jair Brown, obviously, he's going to be most likely the starting free safety. I'm interested in seeing if the 6th round pick, Marcus Siegel, can step in and hold his own. And others that will compete for time are going to be Jason Pinnock, George Odom, Jalen Mahoney, and Richie Grant. But yeah, it'll be interesting if the 49ers want to add maybe another veteran to that group or, see what they have. I trust Robert Saleh to figure it out. But finally on special teams, the one this might actually, second, aside from left guard, this might be one of the most like pivotal training camp battles, and it's going to be the battle between Greg Joseph and Jake Moody. You know, I'm wondering if Greg Joseph can finally put an end to the Jake Moody misery. And it's not like I don't feel bad for Jake Moody, but at the same time, I don't feel as confident as a fan. Like when he goes out there and the game's on the line, and I know his teammates definitely don't like losing all those games, all the close games over missed kicks, you know, especially his former
Mm.
teammate Debo Samuel, but that's a whole different conversation. But I don't know. I feel like if Greg Joseph can just kind of be a little bit more like Robbie Gould, like maybe not hitting from 60 plus or even beyond 50, but if he can just be money, 40 and inside, I think he's going to win the battle over Jake Moody, especially because it's a brand new special teams coordinator, Brant Boyer. You know, I
Mm.
think Jake Moody's days might be numbered. But if it's close, I think they're going to run it back with Moody. I think they're going to run it back with Moody because I feel like they wouldn't want to just admit that it was a horrible draft pick. What do you think, Mike?
1000%. Yeah, I think what was it, third round pick?
Yeah, third round pick
Yeah, I think that investment, uh, and
backfired.
probably this. Well, I mean, having the new special teams coordinator could make a big, play in him getting cut eventually. If he's, it just like you said, if it's close, the investment is probably still worth keeping him, at least to the people in charge. But if he struggles all off season or training camp, and the new kicker, I forget his name, is just clearly
Greg
better,
Joseph.
like Greg knows, there's no question, you know. Um, but he was drafted in the third round for a reason because he's got a hell of a leg, and in college he was really good. Um, so he has that potential, and I could just see it now where the Niners cut him, and then he becomes the Minnesota Vikings or some team that just doesn't have a great kicker, whoever becomes their you know kind of like Daniel Carlson for the Raiders. Like he was like all right with the Vikings, got cut or let go, or just allowed to walk, and then came to the Raiders, and he's been pretty much money. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I could see something like that where he just somehow develops and gets in the right mindset or whatever it is, or goes to a team that's indoors. I don't know, but I can see it where it all comes together for another team. But
Yeah.
obviously, right now for you, it's well, hopefully it comes together now, or else get him the hell out of here.
Mm-hmm. So, uh, just looking at Greg Joseph a little bit more closely, um, do you know that he actually kicked for three different teams last year in a game?
In a game.
Yeah, he kicked 6 games for the Giants last year, 1 game for Washington, and 1 game for the Jets. And he wasn't
Gotcha.
he wasn't horrible. So he was 13 of 16 on New York. He was 2 of 3 on Washington, and then he was one for one on the Jets. So I mean that kind of sucks that he had to go from New York to Washington and then back to New York to a different team. Like it would have worked out better for him if he like started off in Washington and then went to like New York and then didn't have to move when he was eventually on the Jets. But I mean, at least in the East Coast, everything is like kind of close. But nonetheless, um, his longest tenure was from 2021 to 2023 when he was the Vikings kicker. And I'm just gonna name off his field goal percentages. Um, 86.8 in 2021, 78.8 in 2022, and 80% in 2023. So he typically averages about 80%. It looks like for his career. 82.3 is actually his career percentage. And then when we look at like just kind of the range that he's able to kick at, his longest kick is a 61 yarder, which was in 2022, and from 50 plus, that's when he's kind of spotty. Remember, I said kind of like if he can be like a Robbie Gould. So he's 17 of 30 from beyond 50. And then 40 to 49, he's 27 of 38. So kind of beyond 40, he's maybe a little bit more spotty. But inside of 40, so between 30 and 39 yards, he's 37 of 38, and then between 20 and 29 yards, he's perfect.
Hmm.
And then between 1 and 19, he's 1 of 1 for his career. It's kind of crazy that he's only kicked one field goal within the 19. But yeah, that's something. I think they might just roll with Greg Joseph. Honestly, he kind of reminds me a little bit more of Robbie Gould. So sorry, Jake Moody. You got to fight for your fucking job. You're put on notice. But that's all I got for the Niner training camp battles. Is there anything? Is there anything that, like, any last thoughts that you had before we switch over to the Raiders?
Nothing on my mind that I can think of.
Mm-hmm. I see Wi-Fi tuning back into the chat. What's up, Wi-Fi? Wi-Fi says they didn't want him for a reason. Who are you talking about? That's horrible. I'm assuming Greg Joseph. And, because we were just talking about Greg Joseph and the fact that he bounced around from 3 different teams. He's actually played for a lot of different teams, but yeah, Wi-Fi, let me know. We're going to move on to the Raiders, though. So if you want to, stay and talk shit about that team, you're more than welcome to. So, Mike, give us a quick recap of the Raiders, from the last time that we did a pod.
I'm actually curious what day we did a pod last.
I think it might have been March 30th was the last time we did a pod. It's been a long time. Let me just verify
really?
that.
No, that's
no. Sorry.
Yeah, pre-draft. It'd be late April, probably early May.
Yeah. No, it was May 17th.
Okay, that's why I figured like mid-May because here we go.
Technically May 16th, but we finished past midnight, and then my computer crashed. Okay.
Gotcha.
I'm hoping and praying my computer doesn't ever crash again on the pod, but we'll see. My computer literally crashed yesterday, so we're kind of playing with house money right now.
So last time we had a pod was May 17th ish.
Yeah.
And just over a week later, the Raiders re-signed AJ Cole to a 4-year deal worth $15.8 million. He had 1 year remaining this year. I mean, he's for lack of a better term, perennial all-pro punter. He's arguably the best punter in the league. And at the time when he got re-signed, he became the highest paid punter, in NFL history. Or at the very least, on a per year average. All well deserved. And I mean, it wasn't even a massive jump from what I can tell because that 1 year that he had left, he had $3.3 million. And then now he's sitting at $3.95 million per year. So a bit of a pay raise, but mostly just an extension for, again, arguably the best punter in the league. And then I think just a few days later, the Jaguars signed their punter to a 4-year deal worth $4 million per year. So they, his contract is already not the top punter contract in the league, which is good. He reset the market, did what he had to do, keep it moving. So AJ Cole's locked in for 4 years. Gotta love that. And then June 11th, the other real big move that was made was signing Jermaine Pratt, linebacker from the Bengals, to a 1-year deal worth $4.25 million with another $500,000 available in playtime incentives. This was a move, at least by the Bengals, who I think released him. It's like a cap casualty. This was a move that just felt like writing on the wall. Um, I don't think Jermaine Pratt ever was coached by. Why do I always forget our defensive coordinator's name? Wow. Um, I don't think he ever was coached by our defensive coordinator, but my dude, whose name I always forget. Stupid. But it just felt like a good
Patrick
fit.
Graham. Patrick Graham. Sorry.
Patrick Graham. Thank you. Um, as Kenny 49ers is saying, he's a former captain for the Niners. He was, at least famously to me, the guy that ended the Raiders'
No,
2021 playoff
no,
spell.
former captain in Cincinnati.
What did I say?
You said for the 49ers.
Oh, I said Kenny 49ers was
Yeah,
a.
yeah, but you said was a former
Oh.
captain for the 49ers.
Well, he was not a captain for the 49ers. He was a captain for the Bengals. And he famously, for me, was the linebacker that intercepted Derek Carr on the final play in the 2021 playoff game between the Bengals and Raiders.
Oh, that was him.
So that was Jermaine Pratt. So ever since that play, I think that game he had a hell of a game. I think it was uh who's the safety that went from the Bengals? Jesse Jesse Bates.
Hmm.
Went from the Bengals to the Falcons. He was killing us in that game. Like he was killing me. I was like, dude, don't even throw his way. Um, but Jermaine Pratt had a pretty good game too, and obviously sealed the deal for them to get on to the next. There was their first playoff win in like 20 plus years or some shit. Uh,
I think it's really cool
so
to see Chris Pratt's son, growing up so fast, being an
yeah,
NFL superstar for the Raiders.
yeah, it's crazy. Um, so I feel pretty good about this signing. I had come into this signing feeling like linebacker was a position that was certainly in question, you know? So getting another name, again, a former captain, a notable, for lack of a better term, notable starter, you know, on the roster, that's a positive to me. Um, and then just like 2 days ago, the Raiders waived Carter Bradley. He was like the third or fourth string wide or quarterback, depending on how you feel about Cam Miller. Which clearly I think in making this move, the Raiders feel pretty good about him likely being the third quarterback, if not what the that like emergency quarterback. Um, where they'll be technically out for the game, but they're the emergency third stringer.
Yeah, they can't be subbed in unless the starter and the backup get hurt.
Yeah, that I'm assuming will be Cam Miller this year. Because I mean he was what a sixth or seventh round pick. I feel like they kind of have an I an idea of like what they want out of Cam Miller. That's just what it feels like to me. Not that anybody has said that, just the way that they picked him and then Tommy Millot right behind him. It felt like yeah, these are interesting picks that they might have a vision for. You know, so I don't. Point being, I don't see the Raiders cutting Cam Miller post training or preseason and hoping for him to fall to their practice squad. I think they probably keep him on the roster and keep three QBs.
Is Cam Miller the
So
one that's been comped to Taysom Hill?
no, that's Tommy Millot.
Okay,
Tommy Millot's going to play receiver.
interesting.
Yeah, because he's a little. I think he's a little short for quarterback. But he's shifty. He's going to be an offensive weapon. How
How t-
much of that? I don't know.
how tall is he?
He's probably like 5'11" or something. That's
Hmm.
just a random guess. He might be like 6'1".
Wi-Fi has a question, a Raider question. He says Janty is high on fantasy football mock drafts. Do you see Chip Kelly using him like that, considering the way that he runs his offense? Yeah, Mike, tell us your fantasy plan.
I don't have a fantasy plan right now, but my issue with Gianti, you know, I mean we just found out our draft slots for our fantasy league. I'm picking ninth overall, which from the very quick glance that I got, looks like I'm in play for GNT. Um, I mean, I don't mind saying this to you. I'm probably not picking him. And the reason why is because he's a rookie. I don't
You're
know.
worried I'm gonna take him with the number 2 pick.
Right? Yeah. No, I don't know. I'm sitting between Hutch and Enrique. Like, either Hutch is gonna nab him and like think that he's pissing me off, or Enrique is gonna be sitting there like shaking and quiet, just like Mike's gonna pick GNT, isn't he?
Dude, I
So
was talking to Joey earlier, and I was like, yeah, I don't think I mentioned Brock Bowers, but like in my head, I'm like, yeah, Brock Bowers isn't making it past that fucking the Raider fans
the
at the
it's five
beginning of the
straight Raider
second
fans
round.
at the end. Yeah, dude, it's all GNT and Bowers will be long gone.
Dude, you guys are gonna
Um,
freaking fight over those guys.
yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be fun. But to the point of the question, yes, I do see. Sorry, actually, I just realized you said Chip Kelly and not Pete Carroll. Considering the way Chip Kelly runs his offense, I gotcha. Because I think Chip Kelly likes to kind of do more, maybe a little bit of a committee, right?
Well, for I mean, when he was the coach of the Niners, I'm pretty sure it was Carlos Hyde and like nobody else. But well, actually, it was Carlos Hyde until maybe he got injured, at some point that season, and then it was like, oh god, Sean Drone.
Mm.
Like really bottom of the barrel, like backup running backs. By that time.
Yeah, I mean, the way that it to answer Wi-Fi's question, Janty is going to be getting the carries. I think 60 to 80% of the time, which is very good for a fantasy running back. Um, then the question is, the run blocking by the offensive line. Then the question is their offense good enough to sustain drives? Then the question is, health and whatever. But I think Raheem Mostert is the only other running back on the roster that's going to get any significant carries. I think this is going to be a run first team, but like they're kind of with a rookie, with a rookie
Running back.
Jesus Christ, figure out your words, dude. Fuck. Um
Yeah, this
I
podcast
haven't
sucks. I'm clicking off.
I just haven't been thinking about football. I'm forgetting so many football words. What's the word for a running back that gets all the carries? Bell cow.
Yeah.
Fuck, dude. Um Although they have this rookie bell cow, which again, I think Raheem Mostert's going to get carries. Their offense, sorry, like their coaches scream run first. But to me, their offense is kind of built pass first. You know? Like you
Mm-hmm.
just drafted Jack Best second round. We're going to get to him in a second. Dante Thornton is getting all the hype. I hope I said his name right. Um, you have obviously Brock Bowers, who just broke records last year, and you still have Jacoby Myers. You still have Trey Tucker, who I'm not the highest of on, but he is a weapon, you know. And I think he just hasn't been utilized correctly, so I could be wrong about him. Um, and that's probably it as far as Michael Mayer. I mean, you want an end zone target, Michael Mayer. And again, like we said, Tommy Malott. We'll see how he does, but I feel like that's a good amount of passing weapons for Geno Smith. It's just a matter of if the rookies can come to form. But I really do believe that it's going to be a run first offense. I think they want to sort of win the game that way. I think they want to probably own the time of possession, um, and sustain drives that way. And I think that's going to mostly be on the shoulders of Gianti. They just need to focus on keeping him healthy. And they're going to need their offensive line to be much better this year. Um, do I think All that being said, do I think Janty is like worth the pick wherever he's being picked? Probably not, because he's a rookie, and I think he's not going to get 90% of the carries like people are expecting. And again, I think that there's going to be a lot more passing than probably expected. But then to Kenny 49ers comment, not believing Janty's going to be what you saw in college. Yeah, I would say most of the time you're right. Like Saquon Barkley was a god at Penn State. We don't see that play on every play. You know what I mean? Like we don't see the jump backwards hurdle on every play, which obviously we're never going to see that every play. That's a little exaggerated, but some of the stuff Saquon was doing, it was like he was returning kicks and he was Devin Hester, basically. You know, um, but like once a game, at least you get it because that's the difference between college and the NFL. To his point, Boise State, not the best competition, absolutely. But to me, when I watch Janty, I see somebody who is special. I see somebody who is right there behind, but in line with the Saquon Barkleys, the Bijan Robinsons. And to me, that projects well. It's just a matter of the offense, the offensive line, sustaining drives, and so forth. I think he's going to be very, very good, if not great. And define great. I don't mean like Hall of Fame great. I just mean like top 10 running back great.
What Mike is over here trying to say is that Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, and Saquon Barkley, Barry Sanders, Walter Payton better step the fuck aside. Because Ashton Gianti is going to be the greatest of all time. That's what Mike is really trying to say here.
Yeah, man.
But Wi-Fi has a
Hall of
great
Fame
point.
bound.
Jerry Rice came from a small school. Jerry Rice also caught passes from, you know, Hall of Fame quarterbacks too. That definitely helped him. Um, and Ashton Gianti is going to be running behind Geno Smith, but yeah, like Kenny 49er says, there's always exceptions. It's not the norm, you know. Small school players, man. Trey Lance kind of, it scarred me a little bit, the transition. But I feel like running back is an easier position to transition, skill set than quarterback or even wide receiver, you know,
Mm.
because you can't teach quickness, and
Yep, 100%.
explosiveness and everything. I think
That
GNT
was
has it, and it's
Al
great.
Davis's name to Al Davis's game was you can't teach speed.
Yep. But go on your Raiders recap. Sorry, Mike. We derailed you.
All right. No, you're good. I mean, really, that was it for the recap as far as the last thing being the Raiders waiving quarterback Carter Bradley, son
Mm.
of defensive coordinator. I don't even know where he's coaching now. Gus Bradley. Um, I mean, really, the last thing to talk on before getting on to potential training camp battles to look out for the Raiders is Jack Besh and this, second round fiasco, second round rookie contracts fiasco that we have going on right now. Um, so the Niners don't report until the 23rd, or is that complete training camp? Is that relative to Juwan Jennings when we were talking about that earlier?
So, training camp I think begins on the 23rd. I don't know if the players have to like report and talk to the media a day before training camp begins, but
Hmm.
here let me figure it out. Do you want me to look
Well, I
for
guess
Niners specifically or Raiders? Like,
no. I was just gonna bring up the point that training camp probably starts on like the 23rd, 22nd, 24th, depending on the team.
mm-hmm.
Rookie training camp for the Raiders starts tomorrow,
Okay.
and Jack Besh is not signed.
I think
So
I
that's
think rookie
really,
training camp for the Niners starts tomorrow as well.
yeah. So I mean, the Niners getting that contract in today for Alfred Collins. This is what I was gonna say earlier, but I figured it'd be better, better delivered here with the Jack Besh talk. The Niners being able to sign Alfred Collins, and if I'm not mistaken, it's not fully guaranteed, right?
It's about like 80 something percent guaranteed, I think is what I read.
Yeah, and that's fine. I don't really give a shit, but I understand why the teams are holding out is because it's a slippery slope. Once the 33rd pick gets a fully guaranteed contract, which I believe that's what Higgins was the 33rd pick, so almost a first rounder. That's why the Texans did it. But god damn it, they set off a bomb, dude, because now suddenly the 63rd overall pick is thinking, well, then I should get a fucking fully guaranteed contract. Or maybe it's the, let's be honest, it's the agents, right?
Yeah, they're
It's just
like,
like
you can get
signing,
much more than that, you know.
yeah, it's just like signing a contract, like setting the market, right? That's what they're doing. They're trying to set the market to where now second rounders get fully guaranteed deals. And hey, I like the idea of, people getting money, but I also have seen plenty of times the Raiders drafting a player in the second round and within a year you realize, yeah, this guy fucking sucks. Do I think that's going to be a problem this year with Jack Besh? No, not at all. But um, this precedent that all these agents, I'm assuming just the agents, are, holding their players out. Did I say, oh, agents? That's funny.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Sorry.
Oh man, even
I'm
Wi-Fi thinks that you said that. Well, all
I'm
right.
forgetting
Well,
football words and I'm illiterate.
yeah.
Uh
Well, that's the end of this podcast. Mike's getting canceled
yeah.
because he's over here freaking singling out a whole group of people.
I thought of a joke, but I can't say it. Oh god. Um Point being, they this is stupid and the Niners being able to lock in the deal with Alfred Collins right before training camp starts for the rookies, that gives me hope. I think we're going to see a lot of teams sign contracts tomorrow with their players because their players realize if Alfred Collins is settling for less than 100% guaranteed, you know, we can get a similar deal to him. So
Oh man,
hopefully the Raiders can get that done.
the chat's freaking cracking me up, dude.
Yeah. I love orange juice.
Oh man. All right, moving on. I'm gonna be laughing off, like muted for like the next 5-10 minutes. Just watch.
Um yeah, but that's really it. Just again, the fact that the Niners got that done with Collins today, you
It
have
was
Besh
huge.
just sitting there. It's huge for the Niners. It's also huge, I think, for other teams to say, hey, look, see, can we not just do that, please, for the love of
Yeah.
God? It's training camp, dude. Like, I would like to think that Jack Besh will be in the area ready to sign so long as, everything's prepped, and then he can get on the field. Because, hey, there's been talk, and obviously, again, we're gonna get onto position battles in a second here, but there's been talk that Dante Thornton was, in the OTAs, he was out there with the starters, and Jack Besh wasn't, and I was like, interesting, second rounder versus fourth rounder, um, but I think that was less a matter of contract and more a matter of it could have been contract, but I doubt it. I think it was more a matter of what they expect positionally, like how they fit positionally on the offense for Chip Kelly. I think they might be looking at Jack Besh as more of at least starting off, more of as a slot receiver, whereas Dante Thornton is clearly an outside boundary receiver, So if Besh isn't a slot receiver, he's battling with Trey Tucker, who's got 2 years on him. He's battling, technically speaking, with Brock Bowers. Like, good luck getting on the field in 11 personnel or whatnot. So I don't think it's something to worry about as far as him not starting right now. I think Jack Besh's um, talents will propel him to where he needs to be when the time is right, which will probably be week 1, if I had to guess. Um, he'll be yeah, I think he'll be great. He could play outside or inside. Like, just get him signed. Let's get him on the field.
Hmm. Yeah. So we can move into, I guess, our final topic of the day: those training camp battles for the Raiders. I
Yep.
almost wanted to say Oakland Raiders. I don't know why.
Yeah,
It'd be
man.
dumb if they were from there. Uh,
I certainly wish they were, but they're doing all right. They're doing all right.
but
So
before we begin, who is DTJR? Oh,
that
Deontay Thornton, or the receiver for the
yeah,
Raiders.
Dante Thornton. Yeah.
Yeah, for I don't know why I initially read that as I think Donald Trump Jr. will be good. Like I was like, what does that have to do with anything? But let's see.
Well, we were talking about China.
Yeah, I can't forget when he called out Xavier Worthy at the combine, and then he ran a 4.8. Yeah, that's probably why he fell so far in the draft. But he looks pretty good. Like, seeing his highlights look pretty good.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I think some players maybe just have better game speed than track speed, you know?
like Jennings.
Yeah. Yeah. So
But yeah, let's get into it, Mike. Training camp battles.
let's. Um, I'm actually not gonna go in order of like. Well, no,
Offense,
fuck it.
defense.
Well, there's really no major position battles on offense other than guard. Um, guard certainly interests me. I mean, right now I'm just looking at my uh Google sheet here that I have with the roster, and like I'm looking at Jordan Meredith slotted in at left guard, Dylan Parham at right guard, and you obviously have Alex Kappa, who they signed, who nobody's really excited about, but he's in play for right guard. And then they did draft Caleb Rogers at the end of the third round, um, who was probably in play at left guard. So there are some battles to be had at guard. I think it's got to be a uh, an assumption that Jackson Powers Johnson is the starting center. In fact, I thought this was interesting just because, like, on paper, the Raiders, like, if you go to the Raiders website, they have most of these players, like, specifically guard, center, tackle. Jackson Powers Johnson is labeled as guard slash center.
Yep.
So it's like they view him as wherever he fits best, wherever we need him, he's going to play there and he's going to play well. But
Or
there was a video earlier.
do you think
Huh?
that they're just suggesting he's so fat that he can play both at the same time?
Maybe that he's so good that he could, but probably not. Nobody can do that. There was a video earlier this offseason where he was undercover at Allegiant Stadium for some of the tours,
Hmm.
and he was kind of like guiding people and just making jokes and stuff, and then revealed himself at the end, and he labeled himself as Raiders starting center, Jackson Powers Johnson. So like I think coming out of college at Oregon, like he's just been a center, and I think his mindset is I'm the center. I'm going to be the starting center. So I hope he's the center because I know that's what he wants, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I say guard. Just uh, Jordan Meredith, Dylan Parham, Alex Kappa, Caleb Rogers. Who's going to be the starting guards? Give me two guys. Give me the two best guys. I think one of them's Jordan Meredith. Um, and we'll see where it goes from there at guard. But I mean, right tackle, it shouldn't be a question. It should be Delmar Glaze, DJ Glaze. Obviously, Colton Miller at left tackle. Only 1 year left on his deal. That's interesting. There was talk about him holding out, but he ended up not holding out. So, they got it done with AJ Cole. Is Colton Miller the next one in line? We'll see. Um, and I mean, really, the only other one on offense would be wide receiver. Like I kind of already mentioned, like how does Jack Besh fit into Chip Kelly's offense? How do they foresee him fitting? Dante Thornton, is he the starting receiver opposite Jacoby Myers? Is it Jack Besh? How much does Trey Tucker get on the field? Where does Tommy Malott fit in? And is there some other sixth guy on this roster that's actually going to make the team? I don't know at receiver.
Hmm.
Um, But moving on to defense, this is where
Hold
most
on.
of my yeah.
Don't move on to defense yet. Because you said something earlier, but I wanted to wait until we were talking about the position battles. You don't think that there's any chance that Sincere McCormick can push Raheem Mostert for some carries as the running back too?
Um, of course, I don't know how many years are left in his contract. I don't have it on my spreadsheet right here.
Because I thought McCormick looked pretty good last year, and you know, I think like God forbid anything happens to Ashton Janty, I feel like Sincere McCormick could be a better person to actually fill in that spot than Raheem Mostert. You know, not saying Mostert's a bad running back or anything, but like I feel like maybe the Raiders could use Mostert as like a change of pace running back, and then Sincere McCormick can be like the guy if Janty goes down, to actually, you know, fill in.
yeah, I would say Sincere McCormick definitely fits more of the mold of Gianti. He's nowhere near as good as Gianti, but more of like the shifty guy, whereas Mostert's more of like the give him some straight line speed type
Yeah.
of guy. Um, I mean, you also have Zamir White, Dylan Lobby on the roster, and then a guy named Chris Collier, who I couldn't tell you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but Sincere McCormick, as of from what I saw last season, Sincere McCormick is the only other guy on this roster not named Gianti and Mostert who is interesting. The only reason I kind of don't see it is just because he's coming off of an injury. Um, and I still forget what it was, but I'm pretty positive it was his ankle. I don't know if he. I mean, obviously, I don't think he broke it. I just don't know if it was like a bad sprain or was it a dislocation. I forget, you know, but I'm pretty sure it was his ankle. And that put him out for the year. I mean, it was only like four games left, but still, is that an issue? Does that start his offseason a little slower than others? I don't know. But I agree with you that of all these other running backs, he's the guy that is the most interesting, um, as far as giving Mostert any sort of, uh,
Run for his money.
taking away some of his snaps.
Yeah.
I'd say McCormick is the only guy. I mean, Zamir White is still interesting, but I mean, Josh McDaniels is the one that drafted him. We're two coaches later, you know. I don't see it for him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I mean that's all I got for offense. So moving on to defense. Now I'm gonna go in order of like to me importance. Um, Starting with corner. Uh, in large part because like we're involving starters here. Well, I mean, fuck. I mean, all of them were really involving starters. Guard, that was a starting position battle. Um, I couldn't tell you who the starting corners are right now. Like I can assume. I think, but that's tough. It's a tough assumption. Like Jacorian Bennett should be, based off of what I saw last year before he got hurt. Jacorian Bennett should be a starting corner for this team. Um, Darian Porter, third round pick, very much in play. It sounded like he had a good, OTAs showing. Eric Stokes was the free agent acquisition. Nothing big, but an ex first round pick who has had flashes here and there, but also, injuries have kind of held him back. And then I'd say the only other name that interests me is Decamerion Richardson, who was, I believe, a fourth round pick last year. Um, he didn't look that good, but I want to say he's more in line with the size that you would usually see from a Pete Carroll corner. And that's where my issue comes in for Jacorian Bennett. He's a little shorter than the typical, Pete Carroll corner. Pete Carroll likes those long, lanky corners, right? That's Darian Porter. Uh, but Darian Porter's a rookie, you know? Do I really want a rookie getting forced out there week one? Not really. I like in a wishful thinking sort of sense. Eric Stokes just balls out in training camp, and it's like, yeah, he won a starting job. And then Jacorian Bennett just plays so well. He balls out. He's Jacorian Bennett. He's good. Hopefully, he's the other starting corner. We feel pretty good about it. And then right there in the wing is Darian Porter at the ready. And then you have again guys like Dekamarion Richardson, Sam Webb, and then some undrafted free agents who we'll see.
Yeah.
The
So
next question within
about
corner.
really quickly, when you said that Pete Carroll likes the tall, lanky corners, um, John Humphrey is also a very similar, you know, height and weight to Darian Porter. He's also 6'2", 193, and Darian Porter's listed as 6'2", 195. They're both rookies.
Yes, indeed. Did you just search up John Humphrey out of nowhere?
No,
Where
he's
did
on
you
the
do that?
roster.
Oh, I see that. I'm looking at my thing right now, but off to this, I'm impressed. You searched up John Humphrey.
No, I mean it
I
shows here.
very nice. I don't know what you're looking at, but
Raiders.com,
I
the player roster.
gotcha.
Yeah.
I Nate Hobbs was an undrafted free agent. No, he's a fifth round pick. God, wake up. Um, Still, Nate Hobbs was a late round pick who ended out balling out in the preseason and earned a starting nickel job week one, of his rookie season. Could an undrafted guy come out of nowhere like a John Humphrey and just boom, he's a Pete Carroll guy. He fits in. Maybe week one he's the third corner. If somebody goes down, he starts and just runs away with the job from that point. It's
Yeah.
totally in play. That's the fun of training camp. That's the fun of the preseason, is looking out for guys like that. Um, but
I
we'll
just found
see.
it
I
interesting
just
that they're both rookies and they're both like the same build. I wonder if it's like Pete Carroll kind of hedging his bet. Like if one doesn't work out, the other will.
I think more of just. I mean, John Humphrey could be a guy that, hey, he has the physical attributes that Pete Carroll likes. Maybe he doesn't do that good in preseason, but we let him go and then we bring him on for the practice squad, and we just have a guy who fits that mold and knows the defensive system, kind of gets some development on the practice squad, maybe for a year, maybe next year he's in play, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that feels like the expectation of an undrafted rookie, you know.
Yeah.
But you never know.
Yeah. Kenny 49ers says, I love the Darian Porter pick. I think he was a wide receiver in college. So kind of like Richard Sherman.
Yeah, he's very much in that mold of like ex receiver. He only played 1 year at corner this year, and like statistically, he was off the charts, just like a natural at corner, which is very intriguing. And again, he has that build that like a guy like Pete Carroll looks for.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so the I mean Richardson was a fifth round pick. So the comps are there. Darian Porter being a third round pick, like he was like a 99th percentile athlete, just insane, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So if he brings together that athletic ability and with learning the defensive system and playing well, he's a he's a clear cut like must start type of player, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter of as a rookie, when does he get it all down? When does he figure it all out?
Dude, I thought you were hitting a vape. I was like, whoa.
No, I'm drinking water. Um, I just have a straw. It
That
makes it a
caught me
little
off
easier.
guard, dude. I was like,
Yeah.
damn, I've never in the 3 years of doing this podcast, never saw Mike go.
Yeah,
So
this
the
is what the
next
fucking Raiders
position
do to me,
group.
man.
Yeah.
Did you hear that? I
Yeah.
didn't even mean to do that. That was awesome. Wait. Um, but coming off of whoa. Oh, we're derailing. Coming
Stupid.
off of corner. It's fucking stupid, bro.
The
uh,
smallest little fucking thing.
yeah, yeah. Um, but nickel, the nickel position intrigues me. I don't even know who is going to be in that battle. I'm sure some undrafted rookie, maybe a guy like Sam Webb. I wonder if, again, because of the size, like if a Darian Porter just balls out and Eric Stokes looks like a solid corner, like solid starting corner in the preseason, I wonder if Pete Carroll just decides, you know what, let's slide Jacorian Bennett inside at nickel. If he plays well, and if the boundary corners play well, problem theoretically solved. But until we find something like Darnay Holmes, to me, doesn't scream like, yay, nickel is all good. Like, to me, it's like, yeah, this feels like a weak link. And maybe their nickel position, they plan on intertwining, a corner like Darnay Holmes with a third safety like a Chris Smith or Thomas Harper, um, or whatever sort of packages they plan on doing. Lonnie Johnson they signed in free agency this year pretty early on too.
Hmm.
Um, I could see where they just decide to go with like a safety at nickel, but here and there, not all the time. Just I personally on passing downs like my nickel corner to be able to cover in coverage.
Yeah.
So you know I'm just the entire cornerback position is my biggest question mark of like how's this going to play out? How's this going to go? Just like interior offensive line, it's very important. Very important.
Hmm.
Um Next position at hand would be linebacker. Um Again, I mentioned that the Raiders signed Jermaine Pratt to a 1-year deal. I think that really helps in bolstering their potential at linebacker because coming into that signing, to me the guys that were written in pencil to start were Landon Roberts, who I'm pretty positive is the inside linebacker, especially on like first and second down, and Devin White, who is by no means impressive, or by no means has he lived up to the hype, you know.
It's going to be a
Um,
dogfight at linebacker. There's 10 linebackers on the roster.
I'm looking at 12, I think.
12?
So I've got a Landon Roberts, Jermaine Pratt, Tommy Eichenberg, Cody Lindenberg, the rookie, 7th round pick, Jalen Smith, Michael Barrett, and then presumably at weak side linebacker, Devin White, Amari Burney, Amari Gaynor, Brandon Smith, Jalen Walker, and Matt Jones. The
Hmm.
last two being undrafted rookies.
Damn.
Yeah, and I mean Amari. Wait a second. I think Amari Burney was cut. Sorry. Let me
Yeah,
confirm.
on the Raiders roster online
Yeah,
here. Um,
my bad.
yeah, on the Raider roster online, Raiders.com. Anybody can check this out. Michael Barrett, Tommy Eichenberg, Amari Gaynor, Matt Jones, Cody Lindenberg, Jermaine Pratt, Landon Roberts, Jalen Smith, Jalen
Uh,
Walker, and Devin White.
yes. So Brandon Smith was the other guy that I named that is not actually here.
Yeah,
So yeah, you're right. 10 guys. Um, I mean,
which
those
is
were
still
two
a
names
lot.
that were not really in play. Oh yeah, a lot of guys in play to potentially start. Like Amari Gaynor, to me, last year was like the star of the preseason for the Raiders. And I think I mean, he was an undrafted free agent, so a bit raw, right? But he has the physical tools, and I wonder if another year, a full year, full off season, staying with Patrick Graham, does he have a better, you know, uh, a better understanding of the defense, right? Because I think he was a damn good special teamer. Now, can he come in and play on passing downs? You know, because he looked like an all around linebacker in the preseason. Obviously, it's lesser talent, and I'm not saying he looks like a Pro Bowler, but just he looked good. He looked like an NFL football player
Hmm.
who has potential. So that's really the other name besides Landon Robert, Jermaine Pratt, and Devin White, who I think is really in play for like starting. And then the two like sleepers for me are Tommy Eichenberg and Cody Lindenberg. Anybody else, I think have a long shot, but everybody's in play until they're not. So I'd like to see who these starting linebackers will be. I think with Landon Roberts again, I think he's more of like a run stopping linebacker, so I can see where it's like a Landon Roberts and Devin White, and Devin White's on passing downs, or and Amari Gainer, and Amari Gainer's on passing downs, or even Jermaine Pratt, right?
Yeah.
And then the other guy being like more of the three down sort of guy. Like I would, if I had to guess, Jermaine Pratt's the three down linebacker, and you're alternating a Landon Roberts with either Devin White or Amari Gainer.
That's
That's
what
what
I
I
would
would
think
have to
too.
assume. Yeah, and the reason why I'm saying only two linebackers is because the Pat Graham's defense typically lines up in nickel formation, which is why I was emphasizing the nickel corner just a few minutes ago. Next position that I will bring up is defensive tackle. And the main reason, I guess this could have been something that we brought up earlier for the, kind of catching up on the news. I don't know what's going on with Christian Wilkins. I have absolutely no clue what's going on relative to his ankle because he's in the building for like OTAs. He was there. It was just like one day he would practice and then the next day he was wearing a boot apparently. Um, that doesn't sound good to me. It and just from some of the tweets I was seeing and stuff, like some people are thinking maybe he needs another surgery. Like, well, if he does, why don't we do it? Why are we waiting? You know,
Yeah.
I don't know. So until I get further information, I'm just sitting here like, well, fantastic. I was elated when they signed him a year ago, or yeah, a year ago. Um, and now it's just looking like a complete fuck up if he can't get healthy, you know. And granted, maybe this year he has issues, and then next year he's fully healthy, he's good, and he's back to Pro Bowl form or near Pro Bowl form. Cool, but like, still, what a wasted year. I'm sure his guarantees are fucking massive because it was a big, free agent contract. He's getting paid out of the way,
Yeah.
you know. So should he risk his ankle to get on the field? If he has hella guarantees, why would he? I don't know. So, but I like that he's there at OTAs. I'd have to figure he'll be there in a week at training camp. It's just a matter of can he be on the field? Is he medically cleared to be on the field? So on and so forth. So the reason why I bring up D tackles because really behind Adam Butler, I have no idea. And I think if Christian Wilkins is going to be out for games or whatever happens here, suddenly the battle for the D tackle spot theoretically behind him is a starting spot. So Jonah, I mean, good luck pronouncing some of these names. Jonah Lualu, Lecky Fotu, who they signed in free agency. Some guys that I'm very excited about: JJ Pegues and Tonka Hemingway, two rookies that they drafted, I believe, fourth and fifth round picks. Those would be two guys that I would look to, especially this preseason, this training camp of preseason. Also, Zach Carter and Matthew Butler was cut. And then there's a couple, undrafted free agents. But yeah, the rookie fourth and fifth round picks, Hemingway and Pegues, are definitely intriguing. And then again, you have Jonah Lualu and Lecky Fotu in play as well, behind Adam Butler.
I have to say, you know, we've definitely said it before, but I'll say it again. I think Tonka Hemingway has the best name out of the Raiders defensive linemen. I think.
Yeah, I would have to say so. Although undrafted free agents that they got is named Tank Booker. It's
Mm,
pretty good.
well,
Tonka or Tank? Tonka truck or a tank? Which one's better on the D line?
yeah, I don't know. I feel like Tank is a lot more common.
Yeah, it's also his nickname. It's not his real. I think his real name's Anthony. Um. Okay, next position. this will be my last position. Which I kind of mentioned it already. I don't really have that many positions, but who's going to be the third safety? Is it Thomas Harper, Chris Smith, Trey Taylor, seventh round pick from last year, Lonnie Johnson, who they signed this year? Is it undrafted free agent like Hudson Clark? Um, will they be in play for the nickel position? You know, I think the two starting safeties are obvious: Isaiah Pulamal, Jeremy Chin. Who's the next guy in line? Who's going to be getting snaps on defense in like nickel coverage or three safety coverage, whatever. Um, that interests me. I mean, if I can just look at the roster, I guess where does Tyree Wilson come into play? If Christian Wilkins is down, is suddenly Tyree Wilson kind of forced inside? Or is it going to be like, hey, let's let's uh let's mix in some Malcolm Kuntz and Tyree Wilson like 2-1. What's the plan there?
Do you still
Ex
have
first round
hope
pick.
for Tyree Wilson?
I don't have expectations, but I and my hope is low in the sense that I'm just looking at it like Cleveland Farrell. Like, yeah, once the contract's up, he's leaving,
Mm-hmm.
and it's whatever because it's not the same GM. It's not my boy, um, John.
Spy Tech.
Come on, Spy Tech. Yeah. Uh, yeah. I think Spy Tech's a little bit better than Buddy who was with Josh McDaniels, Dave Ziegler. So
I almost said
if
Rachel Ziegler.
if if Tyree Wilson doesn't come to form and like mold into the body type that he came into the league with, it's whatever. I mean, I'd be perfectly fine with like, oh, he's like a solid rotational guy who can play outside or inside, and his contract comes up and they re-sign him to like a 2-year deal. I like just because he's a ex first round pick doesn't mean he has to be a Pro Bowler. You know, if he
Mm-hmm.
makes a difference on this team, good. But if he sucks, then we have a problem. And I wouldn't go so far to say that he sucks. I think he has developed. He's done this right. He's gone upwards very slowly, but he's gotten better with time. So you know, do I still have hope? Yes. It's just I'm not getting my expectations too high because I don't want to get hurt. Basically, you know.
Yeah.
I will say that they've put themselves in a pretty good position to, you know, they have Malcolm Coots with 1 year left. They just signed him to a 1 year deal. And you have Tyree Wilson for 2 years left. And I think that's not even including the potential fifth year option. So if Malcolm Coots, just balls out, it's like, well, re sign him. But if for some reason you can't, you have Tyree Wilson under contract.
Mm-hmm.
So, and if Koontz does get re-signed, you can either keep doing what he's doing or you could try to slide him inside. He's a little versatile, so I don't know. He'll be a player to watch for sure.
Mm-hmm. But was that the last of the position battles?
That is it. I really got nothing else.
Okay. I know you brought up the wide receivers, but just in looking at it, they have 12. I mean, you already mentioned this is almost constructed as a passing first team. Um, they have 12 wide receivers currently on, heading into camp, and they have 7 tight ends. It's insane. It's,
Yeah,
it's going to be a lot of cut downs, in pass catching positions.
I want to say Patrick Conroy, one of the tight ends, one of the undrafted rookie tight ends, was a fullback in college, so I
Mm,
could see him, being in play for that. Does that get him a roster spot? I'm not sure. But yeah, I mean, they signed Ian Thomas and a guy named Quadir Ismail in free agency, and then they also had Justin Shorter. Like, 2 out of 3 of those names are not making the team. And then an undrafted free agent would probably be the only other guy that's like in play, in my opinion. Like, you know, those 7 names will turn into 3 or 4,
yeah.
probably 3 when regular season comes around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
No, I mean, That's what we're going to be mainly taking a look at, in terms of training camp. It just jumps out to me like, when there's so many guys at one particular position, like I think the Niners had 11 wide receivers last year, and I was
Hmm.
like, dude, what the fuck are they going to do? You know, Especially since like you and I both agree the Raiders should be a run first team. And like last year, the Niners' identity is always run first. But
Hmm.
it's just like, damn, there's so many people that are gonna get cut. I mean, some decisions easier than others, but yeah, sometimes it's just like having a bunch of camp bodies. But yeah, no, I mean, honestly, I thought today's episode was pretty good. If anybody's still watching with us in the chat, we appreciate you. This has been. I thought we had a really good pace today. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, I have no idea how long we took. We started a little after 9.
Yeah, we're currently at 1 hour and 47 minutes, so it's not bad at all.
Certainly not our worst.
Do you want to spitball and go for four?
No, no, I need to go to bed.
I'm just playing. But yeah, I just want to give a quick shout out to everybody who tuned in, and then those of you who left comments for us: Kenny 49ers, Papa J, Wi Fi, Anthony, Pia, um, and then Neutral 69. Just want to thank you guys for tuning in, checking out. Kenny 49ers stayed. I I forget when Kenny 49ers tuned in, but he stayed through the Raider stuff, you know, and was providing high quality comments, asking about Gianti or no, that was Wi-Fi that asked about Gianti, but Kenny, gave thoughts on who I thought was Trump Jr., but it was Deontay Thornton, and yeah, we appreciate it.
We absolutely appreciate it. Anybody still watching? Uh, I
Kenny
like to
is.
do this here and there. Hmm?
Kenny is.
All right, Kenny. Well, if you like movies, I have a recommendation. It's called Superman. It's in theaters right now. It just came out last weekend. Anytime I find something, either a movie or a show that I'm just like head over heels for, and we just so happen to do a pod, I like to, bring it up at the end. I actually kind of meant to do it at the beginning, but I'm glad I didn't. Looks like, are you saying
Kenny
you
already
saw it?
saw it. He saw that
What'd you
woke
think?
garbage. Not just playing. No,
No,
honestly, the movie was great. I thought the
it
movie
was.
was
It
great.
was.
You saw it
Yeah,
twice, right, Mike? Have you seen it 3 times yet, or is that this upcoming weekend?
I saw it twice, and then this weekend I'm gonna see it with my mom and all them. So
Mm-hmm. You
yes,
excited?
sir. No, I am. Like I first saw it that Tuesday early screening, and I was like, it's weird. There's a guy on YouTube. His name's Chris Stuckman. Um, he is a movie reviewer, and he said something in his review for Superman that was really like just perfect. He said, like when I go into a movie and I have like these expectations and like, oh, I'm just so excited, like I can't wait for this movie, blah blah blah. Um, I'm kind of sitting there like really like almost overwhelmed and like judging it and you know reacting to it while judging it and like while caring about little and like looking very detailed when like that's not how you usually watch a movie, just like you just take it in for what it is. When it's like you care a lot about a movie going
Yeah.
into it without knowing what it will be, you just it's a weird mentality. He explains
No,
it
no,
really well in
I
his
I get it. I get it because I was the
yeah.
same way with Creed 3.
Yeah, and I had told you I was really excited for my second viewing because I felt like that viewing I'll be able to go in knowing what it is and just take it for what it is. And that second viewing was much better for me.
Mm-hmm.
Not that it was terrible the first time, just I came out of the first one like, well, like really nitpicking it. Like I really liked it. It's just not perfect because of this, 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 this. And then you come out of the second one, it's like, man, I just really like it. You
Yeah,
know?
no, I came out of my first viewing like, yeah, I really liked it. It was really good, and Pia
Yeah.
really liked it too. Kenny asked if we saw the newest Flash with the original Batman. You just spoiled it for anybody who didn't see it, but it's been a couple years now. They should have seen it by now, but yeah, I saw it. I really liked it. Honestly, people shit on that movie. I thought it was a really good movie. I don't even. All right, so the common complaint is like the CGI, but I can get past that because even I was just rewatching the original, Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy. I still need to get to the third one on my rewatch, but I mean the CGI isn't even that great, especially in the first one. It's dated, but like, come on, that's not the CGI isn't everything. Okay, good storytelling. I thought it had really good storytelling, and it was done really well. So I liked
Yeah.
it.
Well, the
Did
Flash's
you,
story was great.
Kenny? Did you? Let us know. But yeah, he thought it was good. See, everybody who actually saw it thought it was good, but everybody who skipped it just shits on it.
Yeah, or they don't like Ezra Miller or something, or they just gave up because of past DCEU failures. So that's
Mm-hmm.
why I'm excited about Superman is because they're starting up the whole new thing, and it's looking good so far. And I believe in James Gunn. He has not failed me.
Okay.
So
Last question before we get out of here. Uh, and we're just, this is overtime right now. We're not used to ending a pod this early, but uh, since I have you on camera right now, Michael, I've got you on the record. Which Superman movie is better, Superman or Man of Steel? Also,
yeah,
Kenny,
man.
facts. Mike and I were just
Yep.
talking about that yesterday.
Yeah. Tobey Maguire. It's not a question.
It's
He's the goat.
unmatched, the goat.
And that's a large part thanks to Sam Raimi.
Yep.
Um, so, oof, fuck. It's really tough. So, for reference here, Kenny, my favorite movie is Man of Steel. But I know it's flawed. Like, I'm a huge fan of like Star Wars: Revenge of the Sith. I know that movie's flawed. I know the problem. There are character decisions in that movie. There's character decisions in Man of Steel. I'm just like, every time it happens, I'm just like, whatever. Like I accept it for what it is, for even its ugly little bits. Um, but I think with those movies, the best examples would be Man of Steel and Revenge of the Sith. Their their highs are so high that I don't care about the lows, you know, and the lows in Man of Steel being mostly like Pa Kent. I think there are issues with his character and his decisions and things that he says that are just ridiculous. And then, I think what most people have an issue with Man of Steel, I'm going to try not to go on a super long tangent here, but, I'll answer your question. I think what most people have an issue with Man of Steel is death and destruction, which is like kind of the opposite of what Superman's supposed to do or like allow, right? Is like Superman's supposed to save the day, and then in Man of Steel it's like, dude, 9/11 times 10, you know? Which is not like, I don't mean that in like a bad way. Just that's just what it kind of is in that movie. Um, but to me, where I come out of that and I don't have a major issue with that is I don't look at it as, is this a great Superman movie? I just ask myself, is this a good origin movie? You know? And the answer for me is fuck yes. Like, I think it's a beautiful movie. Um, Hans Zimmer's soundtrack, oh my god. Um, you compare Man of Steel to Christopher Reeves, as Kenny's saying here, at least not comparing it, but mentioning him.
Mm-hmm.
Batman Returns, DeVito. Oh man.
That's crazy. Like, all right, I have to rewatch that movie. I swear I've seen it. I just don't really remember much, besides like obviously how crazy that Danny DeVito Penguin looks. Because Danny DeVito is the perfect actor to play Penguin. It's just That's
Oh
so
yeah.
Tim Burton. Like that movie's just very Tim Burton esque. You know, they should not have made Penguin look like that, like an actual penguin. But that's my opinion,
Yeah.
and it's the right opinion.
I I first off, I listen to like movie podcasts and stuff. Very key point. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. That's like, you know, that's the point of art is like it's all in the eye of the beholder. There is no fact with art. There is no this is clearly better than this, right? So
Hmm.
like I can watch uh the Tim Burton Batman movies and have a great time. That being said, like with Letterboxd, the app where you can like rate movies when you watch them, which we use.
Yep.
The last time I watched Batman Returns, I was I I did not treat it well. I did not it did not come out good for me. As far as the or for it for the grading. But, that's in grading a movie, but that doesn't mean that I didn't enjoy it or like, I didn't have a fun time. It's just I'm trying to that's the hard thing with like art or movies is like trying to decide between how good is it, like how would I rank it relative to like how do I enjoy it,
Yeah.
um because there's so many aspects. But anyways, like
That's what I like about Batman movies. They're like each one is really for the time, you know, like the 60s, it's a
yeah,
tradition, you know, and each
yeah,
one like really encapsulates the time.
yeah. So like with Man of Steel versus Superman, it's like they're kind of polar opposite movies besides the fact that it's about Superman, but like everything about them is so different. Like Man of Steel, to me, it doesn't have like a message, right? It's not like, oh, the point of Man of Steel is like, I don't know, pro life. I don't fucking know. Just random, right? Uh, but it does have a metaphor. It does have a metaphorical story that's happening. And it has a great visual, feast of a story and great sounds from Hans Zimmer and whatnot. Um, the metaphor being like there's this birth allegorical story going on during the literal story that it's telling, and I love it. I eat it up. It's very artsy if you
Yeah.
find it, I guess.
Yep.
There's YouTube videos on it and stuff. Whereas Superman, I'm trying not to draw this out. Superman is a movie with many messages, and I would say is like on the spot, which movie is better? It's probably Superman. But I think because of like the whole art is in the eye of the beholder, I wouldn't say prefer Man of Steel. I just think when I look at them as films and not as Superman films, I come away saying Man of Steel is still the better movie. But
Mm.
fuck, it's so close because they're polar opposites to me. When I
Yeah.
don't bring in Superman.
Yeah. I think like if you're taking it at like face value of a standalone movie, I could see there you go hitting the vape again. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
For you kids at home, it's not really a vape; it's a water bottle. Um, but you know, Man of Steel is the story of the birth of a god in our modern society. You know,
Yep.
and Superman is not that. It's the story of a hero, right? A hero kind of, you know, you get the introduction of his purpose, you know, which is a huge thing for Superman, which I think that the Man of Steel Superman kind of, I don't know, it's more of like a darker, grittier, more grounded purpose for him, and where he serves as a god, you know, to people rather as opposed to a hero. Um,
Or
and
like a god.
like a god as opposed to, you know, just like a hero, like a superhero, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, he still very much is. You know what I mean? He just like this new Superman movie. He's like more caring about like how he's perceived, whereas the old one, it's like he's kind of above that. You know,
Yeah,
and
I go ahead.
no, no. What I was gonna say is this new Superman. It's like you not to get into spoiler territory for anybody, but like it's about you learn his purpose, and you get the introduction to his purpose, and then like you see the transition of his purpose later on, if
Mm,
that makes sense. Whereas the other one is
yeah.
like the the birth and just kind of I don't want to spoil that one either for anybody who hasn't seen it, but it's more like Greek mythology, kind of like film, like an actual film, as opposed to like this Superman movie is more like in line with the Marvel movies.
Yeah. I think I guess the best way I could put it, like obviously I mentioned the like metaphor allegorical thing from Man of Steel. Um, Another thing I liked about it, like coming out of or actually in high school, was Man of Steel is very much uh like a find yourself. What's the term for that? Like not find yourself, but
Introspective.
yeah, like just a person finding their purpose sort of story. Like that's what that movie is to me because it's very much a lot of flashbacks and him growing up, right? And kind of withholding himself from revealing himself until he kind of has to. Um, like finding his purpose, basically. Like part of the point of that movie was him finding his purpose, and also like job hunting or like jumping jobs. I was like for me at that time, I was in high school. I was like, this is kind of cool to see. Like I'm about to get out of high school soon. Like it was just interesting, and like the whole idea of finding yourself and you know self discovery. There you go. Whereas Superman, I think, again, without getting into spoilers, although Kenny, you've seen it, but it's less about finding himself and more about like knowing himself, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
like he's already formed, coming of age. Yeah, yeah. I think self discovery maybe is a better way of putting it, but I'd have to actually search up what coming of age means because I always hear it, but I'm like that usually is like teenager type movie. Um,
Coming of age refers to the period in a person's life when they transition from childhood to adulthood, often marked by a significant social, legal, and biological changes.
yeah, so I mean, it very much is a coming of age movie, but mostly about finding himself and like what his purpose is, what he wants to do. Like I mean, minor spoiler. At the very end, like we all know Clark Kent works at the Daily Planet. Like at the very end of the movie, he gets the job. Whereas usually in Superman movies, he's just Clark Kent and he's working at the Daily Planet.
Yeah.
Like at the very end of Man of Steel, he gets the job. Like he's found his purpose in doing that. Plus, obviously, Superman, mostly Superman, and also Lois Lane. And then in Superman movie, last point is like more of he has all these things, all those things. It's more of like getting hit with this. Oh shit, was I kind of wrong about myself based off of what the story, you know, does to him?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I'll just leave it at that. Like relative to everything in his life. Um, it's a great story. I guess point being, I think Superman does a way better job of Superman's character. You know, and both movies are they're solo movies about those characters. Obviously, Superman has a lot more characters, but when I look at both movies and how they handle the character, the main character, Superman does it way
Mm-hmm.
better. Um, but when I look at like the supporting characters, that's when I actually kind of lean Man of Steel in like character arcs and whatnot. Um, yeah, so it's very close. If you're asking me which is the better Superman movie, it's not a question. It's Superman, not a question.
Yeah, I think it's a better, you know, um, representation of what the character is supposed to stand for in the comics.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, that's all the time I've got for tonight. I would love to keep talking Superman, but
Yeah.
we unfortunately gotta go. Kenny 49ers, if you wanna, give us a follow, I don't know if you have the app Letterboxd, and you want to know our movie opinions, you can follow us. I don't Mike, is that your same at, for
It's
Letterboxd?
it's
Mine is
gotta be. Let me
definitely
see really quick.
mine is definitely at JCK510. Same thing on Twitter too. If you want to follow us on Twitter, or if you want to follow the Silver and Gold Pod page, it's at Silver and Gold Pod on YouTube and Twitter. I mean, not Twitter, YouTube and TikTok, and on Twitter, it is at Silver_Gold Pod. It's at the bottom of the screen. But yeah, I mean, this was a good little discussion of of movies. We don't normally we're wrapping up the pod, like we're struggling to finish. Like we finish. I mean, it's still 2 hours and 6 minutes isn't bad for our typical pod time. You know, we have very long podcasts, but
Yeah.
yeah. Kenny 49ers and everybody else, thank you so much. Ooh, I'm only on YouTube and already subbed. All right, so any recommendations you want to leave for us, leave it on our videos. We read the comments, we respond to comments. Yeah, we'll catch you in the next podcast, hopefully. And all right, already subbed, perfect. Please consider leaving a like on the video. Have a great night. We'll see you guys next time.
Training camp.